Claire stood frozen in the middle of the room as her father's voice cut through the air like a knife. People had turned to stare. Some whispered, others pretended not to look, but everyone had heard him. "What kind of daughter chooses a job like that?" Raymond shouted, his face turning red with anger. "You embarrass this family every time you open your mouth." Claire had tried to stay calm. She had tried once again to explain her dream career, why it mattered to her, why she wasn't hurting anyone by choosing her own path. But Raymond never listened. He only raised his voice louder and louder until she felt small again, like the little girl who never seemed good enough for him. "Dad, please," she whispered. "You don't have to talk to me like this." But that made him angrier. He pointed at her in front of everyone. "You want to live your own life? Go ahead, but hear me clearly." His voice dropped, cold and sharp. "You will never inherit anything from me, not a cent." The words hit her harder than a slap. She felt her chest tighten, her throat burn, but she kept her face still. Crying in front of him would only make him think he'd won. People looked away, pretending they hadn't heard, pretending they hadn't seen a father tear his daughter apart. Claire slowly turned and walked away. Her feet felt heavy. Her vision blurred, but she didn't speak. She didn't defend herself. She didn't even look back. Because deep inside, those words echoed a fear she carried her whole life, a fear she never admitted to anyone, the fear that she had always been the unwanted child, the extra one, the mistake, the daughter her father wished he didn't have. She walked out of the room into the cold evening air. Her hands shook. She pressed them against her stomach to steady herself, but nothing helped. The silence around her felt louder than the shouting inside her mind. Even after she drove home, after she changed her clothes, after she sat alone in the dark, the words kept hitting her again and again. Not a cent. She wondered why a father could hate his own daughter so deeply. She wondered why love had always felt like something she had to earn at home. And no matter how much she tried to push the pain away, a small voice inside whispered, "Maybe you deserve it. Maybe he never wanted you." Years passed. Claire worked hard, built a quiet life, and kept her distance. She did not forgive him, but she also didn't carry bitterness. She simply carried the truth. She could survive without his approval. One morning, as she was getting ready for work, an envelope arrived with her name on it, thick and official, from a law firm she didn't recognize. Her heart pounded as she opened it. Her family was being summoned. A lawyer wanted to meet all of them. And the moment she read that, something inside her shifted. Something cold, something sharp, something that felt like the beginning of a storm. Whatever this was, it wasn't ordinary. And whatever was coming next, it was going to change everything. Claire grew up knowing that her father, Raymond, loved her brother, Lucas, more than he loved her. She didn't need anyone to tell her. She felt it every day. When Lucas wanted something, he got it. A new toy, a trip, a special meal. Raymond made it happen. But when Claire asked for anything, even something small, her father would sigh or shake his head and say, "Not now," or "You don't need that." When they were children, Lucas would run to their father with his drawings, messy and colorful. Raymond would laugh, lift Lucas in the air and say, "That's my boy." But when Claire showed her own drawings, careful and detailed, Raymond barely glanced at them. "Go help your mother," he would say, waving her away. Claire learned very young that she wasn't the favorite, but she had her mother, Deborah. Her mother always made her feel seen. When Claire cried quietly in her room, Deborah sat beside her, brushing her hair, whispering, "You're enough. You're good. One day, you'll understand your worth." Deborah protected Claire as much as she could. She defended her when Raymond spoke too harshly. She comforted her when Lucas teased her for being boring or too quiet. But Deborah's health was fragile, and when Claire was still a teenager, her mother passed away. That day, Claire felt the world collapse in on her. Without her mother, the house became colder. Raymond grew even more distant. Lucas grew more spoiled, more confident, more certain that he was the only child who mattered. Claire learned to survive by being silent, by working hard, by building her own inner strength. Years passed. As an adult, Claire didn't become bitter. She didn't waste her time hating her father or resenting Lucas. Instead, she built her own life. She worked long hours, built a stable career, and lived quietly. She didn't ask anyone for help. She paid her own bills, made her own choices, and stayed far away from the family drama. Lucas, meanwhile, grew into a man who believed the world owed him everything. Raymond continued to spoil him, giving him money, opportunities, and praise he never earned. People around them could see the difference between the siblings: Claire, humble and hard-working; Lucas, loud, entitled, and sure that one day he would inherit all of Raymond's wealth. And Lucas believed it deeply. He bragged about it to friends. He planned his future around it. He acted like the house, the businesses, and the money were already his. Claire didn't care. She had long accepted the truth. She wasn't wanted, but everything began to shift the moment she received the lawyer's letter. She held the envelope in her hand for a long time, her heart beating quickly. It came from the same law firm that had mailed the earlier notice. The paper felt heavy, thicker than normal. Important. Claire felt a strange twist in her stomach. Something was coming. Something tied to her father, something she never expected. And for the first time in years, the past she had tried to leave behind was reaching out to her again. When Claire finally agreed to meet the lawyer, Mr. Hale, she expected nothing important. Maybe a simple notice, maybe something Lucas wanted everyone to hear. She walked into the office quietly, trying to keep her emotions steady. Mr. Hale was an older man with calm eyes. He greeted her politely and asked her to sit. "Claire," he said gently, "I wanted to speak to you before the official will reading. Your father made an update to his will shortly before he passed away." Claire blinked, confused. "He updated it?" "Yes," Mr. Hale said. "It was a very unexpected change." Before Claire could ask more, the office door opened. Lucas walked in with his loud, confident steps. He gave Claire a smirk, the same mocking smile he had used since childhood. "Well, look who decided to show up," he said. "Don't worry, Claire. Dad probably just left you a small envelope or maybe a thank you note for staying out of the way." Claire ignored him, but his words stung. Lucas sat down comfortably, stretching his arms as if he already owned the room. Mr. Hale cleared his throat. "Lucas, I asked for a private meeting with Claire." The arrogance in his voice made Claire's stomach twist. Lucas truly believed everything belonged to him. He wasn't even nervous. He was excited. Too excited. Mr. Hale looked at Claire again. "Your father made a major change, and there is a missing legal clause we must address. It affects the entire inheritance." Lucas frowned. "Missing clause? What missing clause?" "Dad already named me the heir. Everyone knows that." Claire stayed quiet, but her mind raced. A missing clause, a major change. It didn't make sense. Her father hated her choices, rejected her life, and pushed her away. Why would he change anything now? Mr. Hale didn't explain further. He simply said, "This will all be revealed during the formal will reading. All members of the family need to be present." Lucas grinned at Claire. "You don't have to come, you know, saves you the embarrassment. Dad probably left you his old shirts or something." Claire felt the familiar ache in her chest, the same ache she had felt since childhood, the same ache she felt the day her father told her she wouldn't inherit a cent. Part of her wanted to walk away again, to avoid the humiliation, the insults, the stares. She didn't want to sit in a room where everyone treated her like she didn't belong, but something inside her whispered differently this time. Go. For the first time, she felt a strange, quiet pull. A feeling that the story wasn't as simple as she believed. A feeling that something was hidden beneath her father's anger. "I'll be there," Claire said softly. Lucas rolled his eyes, but Claire didn't look at him. She looked at Mr. Hale, trying to read the calm expression on his face. He gave a small nod, like he already knew she would choose to come. As Claire left the office, her heart beat faster. Not from fear this time, but from a new, sharp curiosity. Something was about to change. She could feel it. Relatives started arriving one by one, filling Raymond's old house with noise, tension, and whispers. Everyone seemed to have an opinion about the will. Everyone seemed to think they knew exactly how it would go, and almost all of them believed Lucas would walk away with everything. Claire stood quietly in a corner, watching the chaos unfold. Aunts argued in the hallway. Cousins compared guesses like it was a game. Some people avoided Claire completely, pretending not to see her. Others gave her small, pitying smiles, as if they already knew she would end up with nothing. The air felt heavy, thick with judgment and old family wounds. Lucas moved around the house like a king greeting his subjects. He shook hands, laughed loudly, and told stories about how close he had been with Raymond. None of it was true, but people nodded anyway, wanting to stay on the future heir's good side. Then Victoria walked in, Raymond's second wife. Her heels clicked against the floor, her perfume filling the room. She wore a tight black dress and a cold smile. She didn't even glance at Claire. Instead, she walked straight to Lucas. "We need to talk," she whispered sharply. They stepped aside together, speaking quietly in a corner, but the room was silent enough for Claire to hear pieces of their conversation. "Make sure Mr. Hale doesn't bring up anything unnecessary," Victoria hissed. They scoffed. "He won't. Dad made everything clear." Victoria lowered her voice even more, but Claire could still catch the edge of her words. "We worked too hard for this, Lucas. I'm not losing anything to her." Her. Claire knew exactly who her meant. Her stomach tightened. She had always sensed that Victoria disliked her, but she never understood why. Claire had been polite, distant, and respectful, but Victoria treated her like an enemy, and now she understood. Victoria was threatened. Victoria. As Claire stood there, her mind drifted back to a memory she had buried deep, a memory she suddenly saw with new eyes. She remembered one night many years ago. She was 16. She had just shown her father her school award. It was the first time she had ever won something big. She was nervous but excited. But when she walked into the living room, she saw Victoria whispering into Raymond's ear. When he noticed Claire, his face tightened. "What are you bothering me for?" He snapped before she could speak. "You think this means something? Lucas has won bigger things." Victoria stood behind him, her eyes cold, her lips curved into a small, cruel smile. Claire didn't understand then, but now she did. Victoria had influenced him, controlled him, poisoned him against her, for years. Claire felt sick, realizing how much of her father's cruelty may not have been his own voice, but Victoria's whisper. Suddenly a quiet voice spoke beside her. "Claire," Mr. Hale said. He had approached without her noticing. "May I speak with you privately for a moment?" She followed him out onto the porch, away from the noise. The air was cool and the world outside felt strangely still. Mr. Hale looked at her with concern. "I need you to prepare yourself." "What do you mean?" Claire asked softly. "Not everything is what they told you," he said carefully. "Your father. He learned things in his last months, things about the people around him, about how he was influenced." Claire's breath caught. "Influenced by who?" she asked, though she already knew the answer. Mr. Hale hesitated, then said, "Victoria made sure you and your father drifted apart." She had her reasons, but none of them were good. Claire felt her chest tighten, her heart beat fast and uneven. "Why are you telling me this now?" she whispered. "Because you deserve to know that your father's anger was not always his own," he said gently. "And because the will," he sighed, "will not be what Lucas or Victoria expect." Claire stood still, trying to take it all in. Her childhood, her pain, her father's shouting, the distance, the coldness, the rejection, all of it might have been twisted by someone else's hands. She felt anger rising in her, not a loud fire, but a deep, slow burn. Inside the house, voices rose again, Lucas shouting, Victoria arguing, relatives picking sides. The pressure kept building, like the whole house was ready to crack. Everything was moving toward the will reading, and Claire could feel it. The storm was close. Something big was coming, something that would change everything she thought she knew. Everyone gathered in the lawyer's office, squeezing into the room with tight faces and nervous eyes. The air felt heavy, like everyone could sense that something big was about to happen. Claire sat near the back, quiet, trying to stay calm. Lucas sat in the front with a proud smile, already imagining his victory. Victoria sat beside him, stiff and confident. Mr. Hale opened a folder and looked around the room. "Thank you all for coming. We are here to read the final will of Raymond Clark." Lucas leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "Let's get this over with," he said loudly. "We all know how this ends." Mr. Hale ignored him and began reading. At first, the will sounded normal. Small gifts to relatives, charity donations, instructions for Raymond's belongings. Lucas grinned through all of it, waiting for the part where his father declared him the heir. But then Mr. Hale reached the main section. "This is the part regarding the primary inheritance," he said. "Raymond Clark made changes to this section shortly before his passing." Lucas's grin faded a little. Victoria shifted in her seat. Mr. Hale continued. "I leave the majority of my estate, including the house, the land, and my business shares, to my daughter, Claire Clark." The room fell completely silent. Lucas blinked. "What? No, that has to be a mistake." Victoria's jaw dropped. She grabbed the edge of her chair as if she needed to hold on to something. Mr. Hale repeated clearly, "The primary heir is Claire Clark." Lucas jumped up from his seat. "No, my father would never do that. He told me everything was mine." Mr. Hale calmly opened another sealed envelope. "Your father discovered certain things, Lucas, things that changed his mind." Victoria stood up quickly. "Mr. Hale, don't you dare!" But he kept going. "This letter," he said, holding the envelope, "was written by Raymond and meant for Claire only, but he requested that the family hear it first." Claire felt her heart race as Mr. Hale unfolded the letter. His voice softened as he read, "My dear Claire, I know I was not the father you deserved. I let anger and influence blind me. I allowed people around me to twist my judgment, especially when it came to you. I was wrong. I see that now." Victoria turned pale. Mr. Hale continued reading. "I learned the truth too late, that you were the one who cared, the one who tried, the one who never asked for anything. I am sorry for every moment I made you feel unwanted. This will cannot fix the past, but it is my attempt to make things right. Your mother would want this, and so do I." By the time the letter ended, Claire's eyes burned with tears she didn't want to shed in front of everyone. Lucas exploded. "No, I deserve everything. I'm his son. She didn't even talk to him for years." Victoria grabbed his arm, panicked. "We can fight this. We can overturn it." Mr. Hale shook his head. "The will is legally sound. Raymond knew exactly what he was doing." Chaos broke loose. Relatives shouted. People argued. Lucas yelled at Claire, then at Mr. Hale, then at everyone, his face twisted with rage and disbelief. Claire sat still, overwhelmed. She didn't feel triumphant. She didn't feel proud. She felt shaken, like her world had shifted in ways she wasn't ready for. But beneath the shock and noise, one truth settled quietly inside her. Her father had finally seen her, and he had chosen her. The room was still full of shouting, but Claire did not join in. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't defend herself, and she didn't look at Lucas with anger. She simply stood up slowly, her hands calm at her sides. She could have smiled. She could have thrown his words back at him. She could have enjoyed the moment, but she didn't. Instead, she chose dignity. "I don't want to fight," Claire said softly. "I'm not here to hurt anyone." Her calmness only made Lucas more frustrated. He slammed his hand on the table. "You stole everything. You took what was mine." But Claire shook her head. "I didn't take anything. Dad made his decision, and I'm not going to argue about it." Victoria glared at her, her face full of fear and anger. But Claire didn't look back. She refused to let them pull her into their bitterness. Later, when everyone finally left the office, Claire sat with Mr. Hale to discuss the details. She learned about the house, the money, the business shares, and other assets she now owned. It was overwhelming, but Claire remained calm. "I want to keep only what makes sense," she said. "The rest I want to give away or donate." Mr. Hale smiled gently. Your father would be proud of that." Claire didn't answer. She wasn't sure what her father would think. She only knew what felt right in her heart. Over the next few days, she made her decisions carefully. She kept the house because it held her mother's memories, but she sold the land. She kept her father's old watch, but donated some of the expensive things he had collected. She gave a portion of the money to charity. She did everything quietly, without showing off. Meanwhile, Lucas began to fall apart. The truth hit him harder than anyone expected. He had built his whole life on the idea that he would inherit everything. It was his safety net, his pride, the thing he bragged about when he felt insecure. Now it was gone. He refused to speak to anyone. He blamed Claire, then blamed Victoria, then blamed Mr. Hale. He tried to argue with the lawyer, but the will was solid. He tried to act tough, but inside, he was breaking. People around him began to see the truth, that Lucas was not strong, not responsible, and not ready to face life without his father's money. He had never learned to stand on his own. One evening, Claire found him sitting alone outside the house, looking lost. For a moment, she considered walking past him. After everything he had said and done, he didn't deserve her kindness. But she stopped. "Lucas," she said softly, "I'm not your enemy." He looked up, eyes red, face tired. "You ruined my life." Claire shook her head. "No, you depended too much on something that was never promised." He didn't answer. He looked away. Claire realized then that she could not fix him, and it wasn't her job to. Everyone had their own path to walk. As she stood outside her father's house later, watching the sunset, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. For the first time, she wasn't carrying old pain. She wasn't chasing approval. She wasn't afraid of being unwanted. She finally understood her own worth. She was enough, always had been, and now she was free. Claire held the letter in her hands, reading the final line slowly, letting each word settle in her heart. "I'm sorry I didn't see your worth sooner. I hope you can live your life without the weight of my mistakes." Her fingers trembled a little as she folded the letter. She pressed it gently against her chest. For so many years, she had wanted to hear something like this. She never thought she would. She never thought her father would understand anything about her at all. But here it was, written in his own words, not perfect, not enough to erase all the hurt, but real. Claire stepped out of the lawyer's office into the cool air. The sky was wide and open above her. Cars passed by. People walked down the street. Life moved on around her. She took a slow, deep breath, feeling the heaviness in her chest loosen. She wasn't triumphant. She wasn't celebrating. She wasn't even thinking about the inheritance. She just felt free for the first time since she was a child. She didn't hear her father's angry voice in her head. She didn't feel the sting of being the unwanted child. She didn't carry the fear that she had done something wrong. She felt light, clean, open. She looked down at the letter one more time. She remembered the night he told her she would never inherit a cent. She remembered walking away feeling small and broken. Now she walked away again, but this time she walked away whole. Claire tucked the letter into her bag and lifted her face to the sky. She didn't know what came next, but she knew one thing for sure. Her story was finally her own. Hey friends, thanks for sticking around till the end. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. See you next time.